Happy New Year, American psychopaths. We have two children that are dead this new year thanks to psychopaths with knives attacking their genitals and then blaming whoever they possibly can besides themselves for sexually assaulting their own children. But let's review this. This is the Business Stanford, Tuesday, January 9th, 2004. 5-year-old dies after circumcision at United College Hospital in Bangladesh. TBS report. 8th January 2024. Relatives claim hospital's negligence caused death. No, maybe your negligence caused the death because maybe you shouldn't be assaulting children with knives, and that anybody that was involved with that, whether you're the doctor or the parents, you're all should be in jail, in prison for the rest of your lives for murder because you literally murdered this child. And anybody who supports this, you also murdered this child and you should be in prison too. So everybody around that supports this should be in prison, literally, for murder because you are accessory to murder. You are accessory to murdering this child by being part of a genital mutilation culture and supporting the genital mutilation of children. You are as guilty as the parents and the quacks who mutilated this child, in my opinion. Every single one of you who supports this violent sexual assault of children. 5-year-old has passed away following circumcision procedure conducted at the United Medical College Hospital in capital's Bada. The young victim, identified as Ayan, was a nursery student at a private school in the capital. Nursery student. I don't know how a child would be a nursery student. Anyways, Ayan's father, Shamin Ahmed, you are just as guilty as the doctor, alleged that the hospital's mishandling led to the loss of his child. You are just as guilty, sir. You should be in prison right now, along with the quacks that mishandled this. Everybody involved should be in prison for this child's death. This child will not get justice for those who murdered him. This was a murder of a child by medical quacks and failed parents who can't even protect their own children. On December 21st, 31st December, Ayan was circumcised under full anesthesia at the United Medical College in Sakkal, Bada, allegedly without parental consent. Allegedly without parental consent? Well, that might make the parents not. I don't understand. This article is kind of not making a lot of sense. He was transferred to the hospital's Lucian branch where he did not regain consciousness a few hours post-operation. After 7 days of keeping him support in the pediatric intensive care unit, the doctors declared Ayan dead early Sunday. Murdered is what it was. The hospital authorities hand over Ayan's murdered body to his family around 4:35 at the hospital. United Hospital has performed an inquiry committee to probe the incidents. According to Shamin Hamed's colleague, Habidur Rahman, the body was taken to Shadhawari Hospital for autopsy on Monday morning. Habidur told the Business Standard the police have been informed, considering that the United Medical College Hospital falls under the jurisdiction of the Bada police station. A case will be filed against the hospital there. Expressing dismay over the situation, he noted all necessary tests were conducted on Ayan the day before the circumcision. We trusted the doctors with everything, with their wrongful treatment resulted in the loss of our child's life. Okay, so it seems like they were in consult with the doctors and that everything was go ahead. Doesn't seem like this was a case of wrongful circumcision by the quacks. And it seems the father is every bit as guilty as the quacks. Ayan's uncle, also named Habidur Rahman, told TBS yesterday everything that the boy's postmortem was done and that he will be buried in Baruna Bazar of Rawalpindi. He declared that the doctors took a class for student doctors for half an hour and a half, keeping Ayan in the operating theater, which can be revealed from CCTV footage. Ian died due to the negligence of the doctors, considering circumcision is a small operation. Buddy, if half of your genitals is if cutting off half of your surface area of your genitals is a small operation, that's your personal problem. Mine was not a small operation. Mine was, in what would have been as an adult male, at least 18.4 square inches. That's the average size, and considering that I'm larger than average. Buddy, so you must have a micro penis if this is in fact the case where your surgery was a small operation. So, these, you got to think relative terms. If you have a micro penis, yours might be small, half yours might be small, but the rest of us, speak for yourself, buddy. The hospital authorities, however, denied taking any class during surgery. The uncle said Ian's family went to United Medical Health for circumcision under a T10,000 package. However, additional tests costing T3,000 were. But now, after Ian's passing, the family received a bill of T6.5, whatever. Later, the hospital forcibly returned the body at midnight without settling the bill. He added, regarding the application of full... Man, who wrote this? Professor, doctor, this must be translation. Former chairman of the Department of Anesthesia and Intensive Care Medicine at BSMMU. Why are you cutting babies' genitals, you psychopaths? You are just as guilty. Anybody that was involved with this is guilty of the murder of that child. Local drugs can be cause of problems in children. Circumcision is nothing to take lightly. Abnormal reaction of drugs to the type of drug applied. The child's allergy to drugs can cause problems. How about you just not mutilate children, and then, you don't have to worry about killing them. You have to be more careful about children. The hospital should investigate the matter. Artful Hoke, public relations manager of the United Hospital, told TBS, we regularly counseled the patient's family as per our protocols. Ian's condition started to deteriorate yesterday afternoon, and he passed away at 11:20 p.m. Artful further said that the hospital handed over all the documents to the patients, including the consent form, to the parents' relatives. We approached the incident humanely and considered the financial aspect compassionately. Yeah, you should sue yourselves. If legal action is taken, we will follow the necessary steps in accordance with the law. The United Medical College is a concern of the United Group, and both institutions maintain international quack standards. The fact is that you quacks have been mutilating babies' genitals and calling it medicine for 100 years is not justification. This is no different than SS troopers killing Jewish people in the Holocaust and blaming it on the orders of their superiors. Orders of your superiors is not valid excuse for murdering and killing a child. As for the possibility of mistreatment, an inquiry committee was formed 1st January. The committee has already held a meeting. We expect the report to be available within 10 working days. We investigated ourselves. We found we did nothing wrong, is what's going to happen. Only then can we determine if there was any mistreatment. Yeah, the doctors involved in administering anesthesia or performing the surgery will continue their duties until an investigative report is received. So they kill a child, murder a child, and they're still active doctors. No doctor wants to kill a patient. Accidents can cause death. This is an unnecessary mutilation of a child. You are guilty as charged. You are just as guilty as if you murdered that child on purpose. You are no different. It's this whole negligent, we didn't mean to. No, everybody is guilty. In fact, you're guilty of egregious bodily sexual assault of a child with egregious bodily harm right off the bat, because that's what a mutilation is. A committee has formed to investigate whether there's any mistake by the doctor's action will be taken. Register the Bangladesh Medical Dental Council. I mean, these wonderful sounding words. Dr. M.D. Liqat Hussain, acting register at the Bangladesh Medical Dental Council. The BMDC. So professional. Last night they received any complaint regarding the issue. We have not seen the news. We'll look into the matter. He added that the BMDC can cancel doctors' licenses or impose other punishments if the doctor's wrongdoing or negligence is proven. Interesting. Now, that's not the only one. That's not the only one, y'all. That is not the only one. Happy New Year! Another baby dead. Another baby dies. This is two of them. Two of them so far. Another baby dead this year, 2024. Happy New Year's to all of you mutilators. You who should be in prison and should be getting the treatment with your cellmate, who should be enjoying you as a just the same that you kind of relegated your child to, which is kind of like a sexual thing that you can just do whatever the fuck you want to. But anyways, just killing children is just normal for these people, It's no big deal. Little baby's dead, 67-day-old baby dies after circumcision in Kerala. Police registered FIR. Of course, one of the things is just either bad translation or bad writing, which is common to these people. Okay, I just think that anybody that mutilates babies must be full of a society of just retards. And I'm pretty right about that. So 67-day-old baby in the Idukki region. Incident took place on January 2nd, the day after the previous baby was murdered. The baby was among twins. Oh my God! Now your twin is gonna grow up to know that his brother was murdered by his own parents and by Quacks at Nasra's home in Kadilor village in the evening. Thiran Van Pan. That was his name, I guess. Is 67, whatever that's, maybe that's the location. 67-year-old baby died after undergoing circumcision. Baby was among twins. Soon after the baby started bleeding, he was rushed to the hospital. Next day, the child was shifted to the Thupazuka hospital, where the babies are mutilated after the child seems to suffer breathlessness. Baby passed away on January 4th. Happy New Year to his parents and his murderers. I'm sure you're enjoying your life. Well, he will never have his. Police have taken sumoto cognizance of the case and have registered a first information report. Circumcision is a surgical procedure that removes the foreskin of the procedure. It is a sexual assault of a child that removes the main sensory tissue of his genitalia, which is the equivalent of a clitoral removal, clitoridectomy, or removing the clitoris, the entire clitoris, because that's the sensory equivalent of the male foreskin. Called Non-Religious Citizens, a Kerala-based organization called Non-Religious Citizens filed a public interest litigation, PIL, before the Kerala High Court seeking a ban on circumcision of children. Now we have some people here with brains. Thank you. PIL, for putting in the PIL. The petitioner argued the practice of non-therapeutic circumcision is illegal and violates the rights of children. Absolutely. The PIL contended that non-therapeutic circumcision violates the fundamental rights of the child and amounts to human rights violation. Circumcision causes psychological trauma, including disrupted attachment, cognitive delays, and impaired emotional regulation. Finally, the PLF had claimed. Claimed? What do you mean it claimed? See, this is where you get these idiot morons claimed. You are violently sexually assault a child with the most egregious, excruciating pain they will probably ever suffer in their entire lives. And it's claimed. It's claimed. No, it's literally guaranteed. What's claimed is your ignorance. You're claiming to be a moron by saying it's claimed. Because it's guaranteed that removing and sexually assaulting children, cutting into the most sensitive, pleasurable part of our bodies, is excruciating torture on the level of any other torture you could possibly devise. You people that support this, you should all be in prison. You should all of you should go to the prison for this child's death. You are just as much of a murderer. You are an accomplice to this child's murder. Because if you did not, in your psychosis, support this sick abuse of children, this wouldn't happen. And these children wouldn't be mutilated. And this child wouldn't be dead. These two children would not be dead in 2024. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Circumcision is part of religious practice in Islam and Jewish faith. It is not Islam and is completely against Islam. It violates the Quran. Well, first off, Allah created us perfectly. Says that no less than 6 times in the Quran. Says not to cut parts or alter Allah's creation twice. Says there's nothing left out of this book. You know what's left out of the book? Circumcision is left out of the book completely. There is no description in the entire Quran about circumcision. It was made by a fake, weak hadith that was written hundreds of years after the death of Muhammad by people who never even met Muhammad. There's also been scientific research that points to, okay, here's where we got these weird psychopaths. The Kerala High Court had dismissed the PIL, saying that the petitioners have relied on news reports to make their arguments and not substantiated their case. My God. The denial. The Kerala High Court is in denial of human anatomy, structure, and function. Literally in denial of fundamental human anatomy in order to make this absolutely ludicrous, nonsensical. So rely on reports? What do you mean you have to rely on reports? You know that the moment that knife cuts into the child, an egregious crime against humanity has been committed against all humans. And the idea that this is okay to rip parts off children and that these very real, very obvious, very undeniable damage to the brain development and the sexuality of the child is without question occurring. There is no doubt that this is occurring. And these people will just say, rely on news reports to make their arguments. I mean, watch one. Go Google one and watch it. That's all you need to know. It's a violent sexual assault of a child. It's egregious bodily harm that leaves permanent damage to the child's brain development and their body every single time. That's when they're successful, when they are considered successful. That's what's going to happen to every single child this is done to. Hands down, no question, without a doubt, every single one. You quacks. You Kerala high quacks. You should be disgusted with yourselves. You are egregious abusers of children. You should be the ones on trial. You should be in the courtroom fighting for your life because of you. This child is dead, Kerala, and the next child that dies is also your responsibility, Kerala High Court. You are the abusers of children. And to deny these facts and to dismiss this very obvious, very real claim that does not depend on anything but the actual mutilation of children themselves. This does not depend on some report. This depends on the actual violent sexual assault that's being done to these children. I can't believe I have to. Circumcision. There's also been scientific research that purports to resist risk of HIV among circumcised male. That's absolutely quackery. There's been no such real science that has ever proven this. In fact, the epidemiology studies all across the world, epidemiology is a study of disease trends through society and culture, have shown circumcised men have higher rates of HIV and STDs. Higher, not lower. Higher, not lower. Higher, not lower. All over the world. The USA has high rates of HIV and STDs compared to the rest of the developed nations of the world. Higher, not lower. Higher, not lower. So to make this ludicrous claim, this is just quack relying on quack. I mean, the idea that this removes a functioning tissue that reduces friction of intermission by tenfold. Intermission is the friction of one object moving inside another. How would you remove friction tenfold Okay. It also acts as a gasket to maintain moisture. It maintains lubrication. How would removing the ball bearings and removing the grease and increasing friction decrease micro tears and vectors for disease transmission? How? In what world? In what biomechanical physics class? In what physics class in the planet would removing the friction reducing part that rolls and glides, that maintains moisture, that is literally the wheels and the grease, the ball bearings of the entire system, how would that decrease disease transmission caused by increased friction, caused by micro tears in the skin? How? It is biomechanically impossible. This is why circumcised cultures have higher rates of HIV and STDs, not lower. And the 3 randomized controls trials that they had in Africa were full of flaws. And they relied on a statistical lie. The real world, the real supposed reduction of HIV was 1.3%. That's the actual reduction. And the flaws of the study, such as researcher bias and lead time bias, because if you're mutilated, you can't have sex for at least a month. And then the studies were cut short, and they weren't even done for 6 months. And there was a tremendous number of people that never responded or never returned to be followed up with. Those studies were tremendously flawed and full of holes and not even close to being legit science. And better done studies in Canada and Denmark recently that had hundreds of thousands of participants that were done for 30 years, showed no increases in HIV and STDs in either one of those cultures. So this is so ludicrous. These are just claims to justify this death, this violent death of a child. It's all quackery. It's just all nonsense. It's all lies, and it's all child abuse. And these people should be in prison, and they should have a cellmate with a circumcised penis who really enjoys them. And will enjoy them for the rest of their living life. That's what they deserve. They deserve a cellmate who determines whether or not, or uses them for their own fun pleasure. That's what they deserve. They should be in these prisons where other people who murder children are. This should be prison sentence for everyone involved. The nurses, the doctors, the parents, that court, the Kala court, everybody involved, you should all be in prison. The judge, the lawyers, everybody involved should be in prison. Every one of you should be in prison, especially for throwing out that really valid complaint by the non-religious people who are outraged by just as much as I am by these psychopaths sexually assaulting, torturing, and mutilating and violating little children. These people are outrageous, just horrible, horrible child abusers of the worst kind. And they do this with the most compulsion and lusty like desires. It's absolutely horrific to watch these people, and you tell them this is horrible, this is harmful to do to children, and they will just deny everything because they want it so bad. These people have obsessive compulsive desires to mutilate children's genitals. It is far beyond any kind of common decency. This is a flaw of humanity. Adult human males and females tend to have in these cultures, these extreme desires and fetishes, what borders on lusty desires for attacking children's genitals. And when children die, they should be in prison. I mean, it should be 10 years for every child with a successful mutilation. with what we would consider a successful mutilation. That should be 10 years in prison, hands down. A child dies, you should not throw away the key. Throw away the key. Everybody in that Kala High Court, you should be in the ones on trial, and you should be in prison because you just had the opportunity to protect children, and you denied it, and you denied it, and you said it had to do with like news reports. You idiots. You psychopathic, delusional idiots. You're ripping parts off children. That has nothing to do with some news report. You frothing at the mouth, psychopaths. Anyways, sorry I'm ranting. But I just can't. I can't live in a world like this. I just can't. I'm not normal. I'm not a normal human being, because if this is normal to humans, I am not normal. And I will never be okay with this, just this absolute disgusting, horrible abuse of children.